In this lesson, we'll learn how to create lists with HTML and also about tables and how they can be used. Lists are kind of like headings in that they will do a number of things to your text. So using this tag acts like a shortcut to format your text in a bunch of ways at once. The two that are most commonly used and the most useful are ordered lists and unordered lists. Ordered lists will number all the items in the list, and so are useful for something that has a series of steps, such as directions. Unordered lists have a bullet in front of each item. Creating an unordered list is an easy way to set up a link menu. The tag for an unordered list is UL. This of course tells the browser we're setting up an unordered list. But we also need a tag around each item in the list. This tag is LI for list item. Then I type in the first item, and then the closing LI tag. Then I put in my next list item with the opening LI tag, the text for the next item, and the closing LI tag. I can type in as many items as I would like into the list, being sure that I close it with the closing UL tag at the end. When I save my page and view it in a browser, I can see that not only has it put bullets in front of each item, but it has indented them and placed each item on its own line. An ordered list is created exactly the same way, except instead of using the UL tag, you use an OL tag. And you can see that this will cause the items to be numbered instead of bulleted. To use a list as a means of creating a link menu, I simply use a link as each list item. So first I'm going to change the OL back to a UL so that it will be bullets, and then I will replace the text of the first item with a link. So ahref equals the first page of my website, the text that will show up is linked, and the closing A tag, and then the next list item I want to be the link to my second page. So the opening link tag, the linked text, and the closing link tag. I will delete this third list item since I only have the two links at the moment, and also get rid of these links that I previously had set up in a paragraph. Now I can preview my link menu in the browser. Tables are another element that use multiple tags. They used to be the way that web designers would create the layout of their pages, but now layouts are done mostly with CSS. However, it's still useful to learn how to create tables as they have other uses too, and they're still used widely enough that it's important to know how to recognize them and how they work. Let's take a look at a graphic that shows how tables work. First, a table is opened using a table tag. Within the table, first a row has to be created, and then there is another tag to create a cell within that row. Once the desired amount of cells have been created, the row is ended, and a new row is created using the same process. And of course, at the very end, the table is closed with the closing table tag. Now I'll go into my code to create a table in my web page. I will start it with the table tag. Then I can start my first row with the tr tag. I will open the first cell of that row with a td, enter in some content, and close that cell with the closing td. I'm going to have two columns in my table, so now I'll enter in another td with the opening tag, content, and the closing td tag. Because I'm only going to have the two columns, I can now close my row. To start the second row, I type in a second opening tr tag, and then once again, I'll put two TDs within it. And after I close the second TD, I can close the entire row. If I don't want any more rows in my table, I can go ahead and close it with the closing table tag. When I preview the table in Firefox, I can see the content, but I can't see the outline of my table and the cells within it, because Firefox defaults to not having a table border. Some browsers do default to having a table border, but because Firefox does not, and that's what I'm using at the moment, I'm going to go ahead into my table tag and enter in a border attribute. So inside of the tag, I will type border equals 1. The 1 refers to the thickness. Now I can see what the table itself actually looks like. The size of the cells will default to the smallest that it can be to fit the content into it. If I want them to be larger, I can give them a certain width by using the width attribute. So I would go into my first TD and type in width equals, and then in quotation marks, the value in pixels that I want the width to be. I can then copy and paste this into my other TDs. And you can see that the width will be adjusted accordingly.